funny, Raph. There's a creature out there trying to hurt my April. Our April.
Okay, that's enough. I've got what I need. You are terrible.
Look, I'm not even gonna pretend this one is good, has a lesson, or is so bad it's funny. April x Donatello just feels like a parody relationship that other shows would make fun of. It's pretty much everything that I hate about shipping, in the fact that it's too long, has basically no closure, and ruins everyone involved. Like, this show thinks being self-aware about how cringe Donatello is somehow makes it better. It doesn't, and we're forced to watch it for 2 whole seasons till he wins. 2012's TMNT gets a lot of love and it gets a lot of hate, but the one thing that seems like everyone agrees on is that this ship sucks. So in honor of reasons, I figured I might as well break down how Donnie x April embodies just the worst of romantic trends and why longtime Turtle fans were just not having it. As yeah, Donnie's just a stalker.
Donnie?
Funny us both passing through this shady back alley at the same exact time, huh?
So for those who don't know, Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles is one of those franchises that will be here long after we're dead. Originally a parody of superhero comics of the time like Teen Titans and Daredevil, the absolute insanity of its title and the quality of the books themselves, and a kick-ass TV show for kids, launched it into a global success. With TV shows, movies, toys, and some alright video games, if it could be sold, it was made. TMNT is right up there with Shakespeare and Transformers for IP that will just never go away. Pretty much every kid from now till the end of time will have their own version of the Turtles. And honestly, while they all got their problems, none of them have missed yet if you don't count the Michael Bay versions. But we choose not to remember them. Now each interpretation of the Turtles adds their own spin on the established archetypes of the series and mythos. Some prefer more grounded ninja adventures, while others will use everything that won't get them sued. With one of the most ambitious and comprehensive looks at the Turtle mythos being 2012's Teenage Ninja Not Saying It Again, for better and for worse. Now personally, I think this show is just fine. It's a pretty decent modern reimagining of the Turtles. It's a competent kids show. It doesn't have the same big hits and misses of Rise, nor the nostalgia of the Fox Box's TMNT, the one I grew up with. And for me, I respect 2012's ability to be silly as well as try and have that nightmare fuel and create a bigger overarching story. Not for me, but if I was young when this came out, I probably would have mostly enjoyed it.
She's so beautiful. On this monitor, she can't tell I'm staring.
You do know that's not muted, right?
This, though, would have been the bane of my existence. So, here's the deal. Every interpretation of the Turtles and their supporting cast is different, with one of the most flexible and malleable people in the franchise being April O'Neil. Originally a mixed computer programmer before making the jump to being a white woman who was cosplaying as Lois Lane, the cartoon version of her would become the codifier for what a lot of people assumed to be April, with her bouncing around from being a reporter to scientist to reporter again, with 2012 making the bold choice of aging her down to be the Turtles' age and having her be just Jean Grey. Yep. This version of April is a human MacGuffin who is being hunted down by the alien race known as the Utrom. They want her DNA to pull off some evil plan, with April's unique specialness coming from the fact that her mother was experimented on, making April half alien. Also, this video will have spoilers. Granting her psychic powers, this show went to a lot of effort to make April an integral part of the main cast. She's not the Turtles' reporter friend, confidant, or Raph's husband's beard. She's family, with Donnie working overtime to make it official.
That girl's dad is a scientist. I'm a scientist. Oh, she's so gonna like me.
I don't think you're her type.
I am going to cringe out of my skin by the time this video is done. My god. So Donatello has always been the smart one in the family. He's the scientist, he's the guy who figures shit out, and is illogical almost to a fault. This makes it a pretty easy jump for writers to take the smart guy motif and to make him a nerd. As when you're trying to add flavor to the smart one, you have like 3 archetypes to choose from, making the next jump to socially awkward or an autistic goat just as believable. This show, however, runs into the problem where, in spite of the show giving him a lot more focus than some of the other previous versions, he suffers not just from being a little bit awkward or in his own head too much. Donnie's biggest problem in life is that he sucks at talking to girls. And what's worse, he sucks at talking to April, as chasing this woman is half of his personality, with everything else in his head getting thrown out the window when she shows up, and it is agony.
Check it out. What's that? You guys are busy? Guess it's just the 2 of us, April. hear that, guys? My sweet princess is alive! Did I mute that?
Well, gotta go. Got some, training to do. Thanks again, Donnie.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
He is just the worst. Like, I can tolerate cringe. I can handle people being embarrassing when they're in love and when that's part of their gimmick. But this show lets this relationship drag out and it consumes Donnie's personality. And this just does him no favors. He has his own stuff going on. You could honestly make the case that he is the second or first most important turtle. But all that love and attention is tripped up by the fact that it always has to come back to this dumbass crush. With part of the reason that it's so painful is that it kinda just happens.
She's the most beautiful girl I've ever seen.
Yeah, this shit was started by love at first sight, and we were never going to hear the end of it. Now, love at first sight is a trope that I'm not in love with. It can be used well. More often than not, it's just lazy, with this kind of being the case here. In fact, it being used just kind of gives away the whole game. That this relationship isn't something that the show is gonna do something with. More than anything, it is just a bit for Donnie's character. As 30 seconds after seeing her, he's made fun of for being a simp, then watches her and her dad get kidnapped. This man just saw his first human woman and is already fantasizing about being her knight in shining armor, who she will have to like because he's a scientist just like her dad. Dude saw a girl get kidnapped, and he's less worried about her and instead thinking about how this is gonna get him laid. This is a thing that drives me crazy and just sets up that this is so unserious, as there's no relationship building where we see April and Donnie really grow closer. As after episode 2, where he and his brothers rescue her, promise to help her find her dad, we get more moments of Donnie being smitten. April is just accepting that this is her life now. But then after that, we are trapped watching them do the same shit for the rest of the series. Well, till season 3, but we'll get there. They don't really develop or grow. They have some shared interest in science and wanting to get back the dad, but we don't really get to see them gain a better understanding or appreciation for each other. There's no real build here. Donnie and April grow as individuals, but their bond just immediately plateaus, with nothing really being done to add to it. So watching Donnie embarrass himself just gets real old real fast, as there is nothing to really look forward to, as it never feels like they're actually building to anything.
That's not how bait talks.
How do you know how bait talks?
I know bait doesn't talk back.
Oh, no, you didn't.
He's in love, she's not interested. Donnie tries pretty much every possible way to ambiguously ask her out. That way he can't get outright rejected, instead try to fumble it into a non-committal friend thing, while thinking that if he does get a shot, he'd sink it.
You wanna feel? Eh?
Pass.
Donnie might have a rock-hard shell, but his spine is made out of jelly. This is the will they won't they hell we're trapped in for 2 seasons. Donnie uses his genius to invent new loads to sing to. April, on the other hand, is just written to either be oblivious or ignoring his obvious attempts at flirting, which brings its own host of problems, as it highlights the fact that this ship is being artificially lengthened.
Did I mute that?
Let's agree that you did.
Donnie, for all of his bad attempts at hiding his very blatant crush, April never reacts to any of it, as having her respond in any meaningful way would force this show to either make them a couple, or more realistically, have her shut this ship down, as she would just tell him, "I'm not interested." If this were the case where he was better at hiding it and quietly pining for her, it would still suck, but you would understand why it hasn't been addressed yet. Here though, it is blatant.
She's so beautiful. On this monitor, she can't tell I'm staring.
You do know that's not muted, right?
April has caught him on voice dial, and there is no world in which she doesn't know that Donnie has a crush on her. Like, this boy, he's got issues. He is icing his brothers out of missions just so he can get one-on-one time with her. He is creating a massive flowchart where he maps out every possible conversation that he could have with her, also that he could wrap it around to being a date thing. The dude is calling dibs while she's in the room. It is not a great look. This would be something that you would think the show would have her address, but it doesn't. Instead, just leaving it there as no one really wants to touch it. It is just doing this trope of a will they won't they romance without actually having an overarching story to get us invested in it. There's no small moments where you can call it a win, There are random, weird moments where we kisses, but there's no real change or adjustment in Donnie's behavior after that. He is doing the same shit in episode 3 that he is in the season finale of 2. While the show does take the time to grow them as people, this relationship gets no development. And here's the thing, the show knows what Donnie's doing is dumb. It presents it as such. Everyone calls him out on it. But in spite of everyone just universally agreeing that he is not doing great, there is no real lesson or growth for this, as any small lesson that he learns is kind of undone, and we're always left with the door being left wide open that these two could potentially happen later. This show isn't building engagement. It's building frustration, which is why so many people couldn't stand this ship when it was happening, as even ships that I don't care for now at least felt like they had some momentum or moments to remind me, oh yeah, I kinda want these people to end up together. Here though, it's just a recurring bit that the show wants you to take seriously, but it gives you nothing, yet also expects you to care, creating this asinine situation. They don't give you enough to want them to be together, yet insist on making this obsessive crush like half of Donnie's personality, and then they make it a love triangle.
2 kisses in 1 day.
Eat it, Casey Jones. Eat it! Bow chicka bow bow!
I hate it.
So this Monster House looking motherfucker is Casey Jones. Traditionally, he is April's main love interest. She either ends up with him or no one at all. So you can imagine my audible groan when he popped up into the story, as this goes exactly how you'd think it would. At the time, April is not hanging out with the turtles. They accidentally got her dad turned into a mutant, unintended consequences, but she's pissed and refusing to see them, which is kind of justified. In this absence, she's trying to get her life back to normal, but is struggling on account of spending the last few months being trained as a ninja, fighting aliens, and nearly dying. This girl is beat and can't figure out how to fit in again. Then this random hockey punk shows up and negs her into being his tutor, but is able to win points for questioning the status quo.
Who wants a normal life anyway, right?
These two meet up to study at the park, at night, in the middle of a dangerous city, with Donnie ditching his brothers for the chance to see April again and potentially talk to her, even though she's told him to get lost. And what does Donnie see? Well, he sees her talking to another man, and he's shattered.
She's on a date? I can't believe it! With some punk human kid!
Donnie is in a state after this, bitching to his pet person, venting about how it should have been him, obsessing over his only hope at winning her back being to unmutate her father, waiting for his dad to step in and start beating his ass till he learns the lesson.
Then perhaps one cannot make someone like something.
You're talking about me and April.
No shit.
Like, Donnie is so bad at this, even his dad is telling him to just take the L. Donnie has tried flowcharts, he has had schemes, staring, and he is no closer to dating April than when he first started. Splinter tries to tell his son that he can't force someone to like something, no matter how hard he tries, and that is something that I can appreciate. Every teen has that one crush that they just didn't know how to talk to. So having this be a problem where they learn not to be this is something that I should enjoy. The issue here though is that that's not the lesson. Splinter tells him that he should accept his inability to make April come back to the turtles. But then, after an episode of Donnie getting this beat into his thick shell, the episode ends with Splinter going, "Fuck everything I just said, you still have a shot."
Never lose hope, Donatello.
Yeah. There's always hope.
Kill me later.
This is schizophrenic writing that makes the ship unbearable to me, as there is a chance to have a lesson. You could have Donnie grow as a person to accept that he won't get the girl, but even then, April could still be important to him, or even just have him change his approach. But the show doesn't do any of that. It will instead pretend to teach Donnie a lesson, something for the kiddies at home to take, but then after all of that, all the speeches, all the preaching, it always ends with the show dangling the possibility of Donnie and April hooking up, undercutting everything they just said, and placing April as a reward for Donnie saying that he gets it, but then not having to change his behavior. As 2 episodes after this one, after saying, sure, I'll let April make her own decisions, I will stop trying to force her to like me, we find out that he has been stalking her at night, with him only trying to make small talk after she catches him. The boy didn't learn a damn thing, And the rest of the episode is about everyone in April's life telling her that shit happens, and she should stop being mad at the turtles now, with Donnie still being obsessive as he ditches his brothers in the middle of a mission, as April finally calls him back for help, saves her, and then gets big sad when she leaves him to go check on Casey, who she left to go fight some robots. He's so sad, so tragic. He did all that effort and didn't get the woman, only for her to show up at the lair and kiss Donnie at the cheek, because that's his thanks for being there. Even, and I quote, when she didn't want him to be. He ignored the lesson, he just dropped everything for her like he usually does, and got rewarded for it. This ship doesn't have a lesson. It's not really that fun to watch, so I don't really have a reason to care. Like, it kills me. This show never feels like it really takes Donnie to task for how cringe and weird he is about April. It feels like it doesn't want to put him in too negative a light, so his behavior is just never given the proper call out it deserves, robbing it of the chance to say anything meaningful or allowing this relationship to grow past that. Donnie, after this, spends most of his time still pining for April and getting into a pissing contest with Casey Jones, who would later join the team. They are constantly trying to one-up each other, and the show is just playing at the idea that these two are equal competition, that April might have a thing for Casey. And Donnie is just so sad about it, even though when he's not sad, he is absolutely furious when he sees Casey getting any attention from April, even when it's during an alien invasion and she thought he might have been dead. Or if you want a different example, that time when Raphael went missing, and rather than worrying about his brother...
Not think that. No, I'm just freaking because Casey and April went off on their own. Alone. What happens when two teenagers who like each other go out into the woods alone?
Donnie is the worst kind of teen boy. He is petty, he is cringe, but this whole relationship is a waste of everyone involved. Especially since this ship doesn't have an ending. Yeah, we're here for nothing. This ship consumes Donnie's character till it doesn't, as season 3, most likely in response to the fact that everyone fucking hated it, the show decided to quietly end all the drama, to stop drawing attention to this ship.
Wow, that is just super neat.
He made April a music box with hearts on top and nudes on the inside, and he really just stands there expecting her to just give him a response. It's painful, with April being completely weirded out by it and just giving a polite response, all while everyone else is cringing at Donnie, only for Don to get a taste of his own medicine when Bigfoot, yes Bigfoot, turns out to be a girl and falls in love with him, and starts acting like the lovesick puppy he is, showing him just how he treats April. This is spelled out to him. Donnie realizes he's pathetic, so at the end of the episode, he apologizes for bugging her, for giving her music boxes, and otherwise just being a pest. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Chorus, he just apologized. He learned the lesson. So why did you spend the last few minutes acting like he didn't? Well, the reason, my astute viewers, is that this moment is bullshit. Rather than Donnie owning up to his actions about how he's been treating April since he's met her, this episode is contained to just what he did in this episode. But rather than feeling like he is fully owning up to his actions, his apology is coded in this incel-adjacent self-pity.
I'm just a mutant.
Where it's not, oh, I've been acting like a fool, it's, I'm an idiot, woe is me, I'm just a big dumb mutant, no human girl would ever want to date me. This little addition takes what could have been a genuine learning moment for Donnie and makes it feel like he still doesn't fully understand why his actions were so bad. The obsession, the stalking, the way he was being so territorial over her. Instead of him coming to terms with how he was acting, it feels like there's a deflection here. Donnie adds this element of, it's not because of what I'm doing, it's because of what I am. It makes it sound like, to him, if he was human and conventionally attractive, then maybe this could have worked out, that Donnie could have acted the same way and gotten different results. This muddles the message of what could have been a solid moment, but what ruins it is how April responds.
Not just a mutant, Donnie. You're my mutant. Mwah.
She kisses him on the lips, because she is into him. After 2 seasons of throwing side-eye at Donnie's behavior, after all these small moments with Casey to keep it competitive, the show just decides Donnie has suffered enough, and that all this time, she's been into it. Donnie gets to say he's learned the lesson, only to be immediately rewarded for it, which to me, makes the lesson pointless. This isn't teaching a lesson of sometimes you just gotta take the hill, or sometimes your friends won't like you in that way. It says nothing. In fact, it kind of condones his perseverance, even while hand-waving his behavior. And it puts April into this weird place where she's kind of been into him in spite of how he was acting, and like she's kissed him on the cheek 1 or 2 times, they've had moments, but it's all split up between ignoring his attempts to flirt with her or just being mad at him. So to have them kiss here doesn't feel like a culmination of either of their characters. It feels like what it is, that the show realized that this shit wasn't working, so it swept the whole situation under the rug so that it didn't have to deal with it ever again. Which, fine, that is a win, thank God for that. But we never really get conclusive evidence about what their relationship status is. They're still hanging out, some small moments here and there, but Casey's feelings for April are still very much present, making it seem like the issue isn't resolved. The show is better because it doesn't have to deal with Donnie being the worst around her, but it doesn't give the viewers any real closure for this relationship. They kiss in some music videos, she straight up kills him and brings Donnie back to life, but the show doesn't actually say if they are a couple or not, leaving the two of them in limbo as the show just decides to move on to better things. And that to me is what makes this ship just the worst. Why it is so spectacularly frustrating, as it's painful. And after all it puts you through, you're left with nothing. There's no lesson. There's nothing about being a better person, no cute couple at the end that you can enjoy or squee at. All you have is Donnie being cringe and April giving him random kisses. And then there's nothing. And I can only assume it's this way because Nick loves its shipping, so I just assume this was a mandate, and none of the writers had any choice. Oh, and we also haven't touched upon this great big green turtle in the room.
Dude, that's a tortoise!
The Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles is a 40-year-old franchise, and yet in all that time, it actually has shockingly little romance for its main turtles. They might have a crush on other mutants just one-off occasions, but romance was never something that was big in the series. The only real main one was Casey and April. But what this means is that shipping a giant mutant turtle with a human woman was a topic best left to fan art. So people, on account of being unfamiliar or just not used to seeing the turtles having crushes, they were gonna have some reactions to this. The idea of pairing April up with Donnie was a choice, as it sidelines Casey while still having him be there, yet it also invites every furry joke under the sun. I'm not gonna pretend that I don't ship Belle more with the Beast than I do with the Meh, but I'm also not gonna pretend that this isn't gonna be a deal breaker for some people. Something that's not helped by this show in particular, leaning so much into giving all the turtles love interest, with the only decent one being Raph and Mona. The show brings back Leo and Karai's Batman Catwoman shtick, of the good guy trying to get the bad girl with some good in her, but here it was tipped into outright flirting, which okay, but then it makes it weird by having them be step-siblings, since in this canon, she's Splinter's daughter who was raised by the Shredder. Which, I don't care how popular the tag is, no. Mikey is crushing on a whole different woman. The humans and mutants look like they're from slightly different shows, making the push to hook up the turtles feel even weirder than it already is. While I'm not against it in concept, I just do not care for the execution. Personally, I think the turtles are way stronger when they focus on family than romance. I don't think it does much for any of the individual turtles, so Donatello x April being the worst just kind of reinforces that mindset. It's more pain than cute, has no conclusion, and what little chance it did have to allow the characters to grow got undercut. They had a lot of choices they could have made, but it wimped out and didn't make any. This may not be the worst version of Donatello, but this is easily Donnie's worst moments in the entire franchise. Alright, this has been my thoughts on Donatello x April. Why did you want me to review this so badly? Like, personally, I do think the show is fine. Not for me, but I respect its ambition. I still do like Rise a little bit more, though on the whole, I prefer that show in clips more than sitting down to watch whole episodes. As it's great, it's good, but it is Adderall dipped in Kool-Aid. It is a lot. Thank you all for watching, like, share, and subscribe, and tell me what you want me to talk about next. Love you all, peace out.